Do pastors pay taxes? Well, I want to answer that question for you today from a real pastor, not somebody who is on a podcast, not somebody who's not a pastor, who has never been a pastor, who knows absolutely nothing about it, who has formed their opinion from what they think they know. So let's answer that question today from a real full-time pastor. The answer to that question is yes. Coming from a full-time pastor, pastors pay taxes. Let me explain to you how it works. I am a pastor at a Southern Baptist Church. I am the associate pastor and youth pastor. We have a lead pastor. We have two full-time pastors. I'm the assistant associate pastor, and I also serve the role as the youth pastor. I am hired by the church. I am considered self-employed. Pastors are considered self-employed for tax purposes, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. And I do want to say this before I get into the depth of it. And I'm not an accountant, not going to use big tax words. I'm going to give you my real world experience. I'm just some old country bumpkin that loves the Lord and loves shepherding people and trying to answer the call and answering the call that God called me to do as far as preach and pastor. I would preach whether I was paid to or not, whether I was hired by a church or not. That's what God called me to do. If I was bivocational or I was whatever, preach on YouTube, whatever I need to do. I do post devotions and things like this on YouTube. But I want to say this. There are pastors out there who are dishonest. There are pastors out there who are manipulating the system. There are pastors out there buying private jets and cars and Bentleys and all these things with tax-free. I guess they're buying it with church money, funneling it through the church. I don't know. That's dishonest. But most pastors are not. Do not judge pastors as a whole because of some bad apples, because of some guys who are out to manipulate, some guys who are out there to get rich, that are doing so and who are being dishonest. Go to your local church, meet a local guy who loves to pastor, who loves to shepherd, who's doing it the Lord's way and doing it the way God called him to do it, who's probably not rich. Some pastors are struggling. I'm thankful my church does pay me a good salary for our area that I'm able to go and do and live and help support my family. But do not group everybody into that. And that's what a lot of these podcasters, these people who have no idea what they're talking about when they're saying, oh, pastors don't pay taxes, pastors don't do this, pastors are just out there living rent-free, rich-free, tax-free, doing whatever. No, not how it works. So let me explain to you how it works. I am a pastor of a Southern Baptist Church. I was voted in by our church. We are a congregational church, if you would say it that way. The church, for anything to happen, the church has to vote on it. We don't have a dictatorship here. I don't get to determine everything. Our lead pastor don't get to determine everything. Yes, they follow our lead, but our church votes on everything. Our church voted to hire me. I wasn't just appointed to a position like some denominations do. Our church voted to hire me. Our church voted to hire a lead pastor. So they voted for me. Therefore, I'm in that position because the church wants me in that position. My salary that I am paid, the church voted on it. It wasn't just appointed by somebody and they went, that's what it is, nobody gets a say. Our church voted on it. We are super transparent with our budget. You can walk in off the street to our church and get a budget report when it's out for that time of the month where we vote on it, and you can see what I make. And you can see what our lead pastor makes. You can see what our part-time staff makes. And you can see where every dollar we take in goes. We are very transparent with that. So there are churches who are secretive about it, where people don't know what their pastor makes, that they hide it, that they do this, they dictate it, and I don't say that I agree with that. I believe in transparency with the church. That does carry burdens when the church does. There are cons to the church knowing exactly what you make, because you can get judgy with you, especially if you make more than they make and they say you only work 2 days a week. Lord, if anybody hears a pastor, they know that's not true. There are cons to that. You take a trip, you buy a vehicle, you do something. Well, dude, that's my money. Yeah, there's cons to it, but there are more pros to it, because I don't ever want to be accused of being dishonest or hiding things. So I do like the transparency. So let me explain to you why a pastor pays taxes, how a pastor pays taxes, and this is from my real world experience, all right? The church voted on me a salary package. It is X amount of dollars. I pick so much of that money, depending on my cost, what it costs me, that goes to housing. So much money goes to salary, which I pay income tax on, federal, state income tax. And then so much goes to retirement. All right, let's go to housing allowance. I determine how much money goes into my housing allowance based off what I pay for a house and land. Based off what my cost is, as far as my power bill, my water bill, what it costs to put a stove and a fridge in the house, what it costs to keep just what it keeps the lawn care, all that stuff, all the costs that goes into owning a home. I own my home, I don't rent, and I don't live in a parsonage. If you live in a parsonage, you don't get a housing allowance. Our church doesn't have a parsonage. I don't want to live in a parsonage because that's how pastors become homeless. You're living in somebody else's house, they decide they don't like you no more, you step on the wrong toes, out the door you go, Jack. So don't want that. Want to own my own home. Church gets rid of me today, I still got my own home. So based off what that cost me, and it can't just be any number. It has to be within a certain percentage. I think the market area too. If you go on the IRS website, it's based off your market area. But I base it off what it costs to own my home, what it costs to pay the power bill, and all those things. Everything that goes into owning a home. That money right there is not subject to income tax. I do not have to report that far as with my whole salary, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I pay taxes on that money. You know what taxes I pay on that money? I pay self-employment tax on that money. Social Security tax, whatever you want to call it, the 15 point, whatever percent, 16, whatever. That was a shocker to me my first year as a pastor. I thought that money was just tax-free like some of you people think it is. It is not. So income tax is not withheld from that. Social Security tax is not withheld from that or whatever. And pastors don't even have to pay Social Security, but I choose to pay in anyway. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. Anyways, that money, the housing allowance, is still subject to self-employment tax. So what I do is I withhold an extra amount out of everything in order to take care of that. Yes, when I get a W-2, it'll have X amount of dollars. Let's say it's $50,000 is your salary, okay? Just throwing a number out there. It'll say you'll have that number, which is the 50,000, and then whatever your housing allowance is will be at the bottom in some block. I don't know. Some of you accountants out there may not. I got a good accountant who's a pastor who helps me with this. So yes, the federal government, the IRS, whatever, it still knows how much my housing allowance is. It still knows how much I was paid for that, but it is not subject to income tax, but it is subject to self-employment tax. So I pay self-employment tax, Social Security tax on that. I withhold an extra amount in order to take care of that. And then we have my salary. So say your total package was $100,000. Mine is not. But let's just say your total package was $100,000 and you had 60,000 to housing, you had 60,000 to salary, 20,000 to housing, and 20,000 to retirement. That's kind of how it works. So then you have the salary part. So say that 60,000 would be what you pay income tax on, your federal state income tax on. So yes, we pay regular taxes just like you get a regular W-2 with that number in it. It determines whatever tax bracket you're in, which me and my wife file jointly anyway. But that number right there, we pay regular taxes on. We're still paying taxes on housing, but self-employment tax, like we're a self-employed business or whatever, like a business owner, construction guy, whatever. Then you've got the regular salary is what far as I guess puts me in my tax bracket. And then you've got what you can deviate to retirement, just like anybody else would. You can save money on taxes by putting money into an IRA. So I put money into retirement every year for my wife and I, and to hopefully have something to retire on one day. So I get a salary package that the church votes on, and then this amount of portion of it is put in housing that I do pay self-employment tax on. This amount is for your regular income, just like if you worked at Food Line, you got a regular amount of money, you got regular job, whatever, that's your income tax, and then you get to deviate so much up to retirement. So that's what I do. And because pastors are considered self-employed, I am considered self-employed. Pastors file taxes like they are self-employed. That was news to me when I became a pastor too, is that I do get write-offs. I can have write-offs. No, I haven't got to go write off a new Bentley or a new $1 million jet like some people do. Those are the bad ones I'm talking about. But I can write off my mileage in my car. For going on visits, for going to camps, for going places. When you're traveling, your travel expenses for ministry, I'm able to write off mileage. I choose to write off mileage instead of writing off like service work, alternators, tires, and all that. It's just, to me, it's better to write off mileage. So I write off my mileage. And then I have pastoral expenses that I can write off. Just like a construction guy writes off his tools, his boots, his whatever, I can write off if I need to buy a new computer, or if I need to buy a new monitor, or if I need to buy a new phone, or if I need to buy pens and papers and journals and things like that, I'm able to write those off as pastoral expenses. And then you can write off your schooling. I'm currently in school, so I write that off. I write off my school, write off any books that I need to buy. You can write off stuff like that as long as you are not reimbursed by the church. If the church reimburses me, if I turn something in, if I bought something for the ministry that I wanted the church to pay for, but I bought it with my money, and I turn in reimbursement from the church, to turn in a reimbursement form to the church for the church to reimburse me, I cannot write that off as an expense because I was reimbursed. So you are able to write those things off. So, yes, pastors pay taxes. At least this pastor does. If other pastors are not, I don't know how they're doing it. They're probably being dishonest. They are being dishonest. So yes, I pay taxes. I just kind of wanted to get on here today just to make this short video. This is not the kind of content I always make. I may try to make content like this from time on, just answering questions from the real world view, not from somebody who has an opinion based off a YouTube video they watched or some filing reports they pulled or whatever. And I'm not saying that those people are always wrong. I'm not. A lot of those guys do their research and do those things. But not every church, not every pastor is like that. Again, we're fully transparent with what I make, what our lead pastor makes. The church votes on it. The church knows about it. And that's just the way it is. And I'm thankful that we do it that way so that I can't be accused of being dishonest. I can't be accused of doing something shady. I don't ever want to be accused of that because we have our integrity, we have our character, and I don't want that to be compromised. And so I just wanted to let you YouTubers people know that today. And follow me along. I still going to do Bible content and do the Word of God. It's all about Jesus. That's what I want people to see in my channel is me preaching Christ and Him crucified, me sharing devotions and some shorts and things like that. But I felt led. I've been wanting to address this. It just aggravates me. When a couple bad apples, people think a couple bad apples ruin a whole batch, and that's just not every pastor, not every church is like that. I've said that. I may sound like a broken record. They're just not. Use discernment. Look into things. Listen to real people. Support your local church. If you're going to a church, support your local church. Your pastor at your local church has probably got a lot on him, and just pray for him. Pray for your pastors. Pray for those people, and hopefully this answers some questions today. Thank you all. God bless. Thank you for watching the Pastor Drew channel today. Like and subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, keep scrolling. It's all good with me. All right. God bless you all. Have a great day. Have a great week. Jesus Christ still saves. Whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He sent His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. I'm thankful for the promise and hope we have in Christ. Keep sharing Jesus. Keep loving like Jesus did. Keep doing ministry the Jesus way. God bless you, friends. Take care. See you.